Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hey, welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. I'm Jason Gobelli. We got Scott Prevett here, and we got a great guest for us today. We got Faye. Faye, hey, welcome. Glad you're here, Faye.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, guys.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Been an amazing journey up till now.
All right, so let's get this thing started right on the right foot, Faye. I got a great question for you. Tell us about who you are and what you do.
You know what? I know that question always comes up, and that's like my least favorite question. Because as we were discussing during the pre-show, a lot of what I do and who I be is just who I am. And it doesn't feel like it's something noteworthy, although people from the outside looking in go, oh yeah, that's amazing. That's a special gift. That's a special talent. And for me, it's just simply what I do. So I guess the best way to sum it up is one of the other guys from the Hypnosis Academy. I'm going to leave names out just to protect anonymity. But after working with this person, they decided that my new title should be the Psychic Warrior of the Unconscious Mind.
Wow.
And their vision of that was they could see me with a quiver of all kinds of crystals in the quiver on my back and pulling them out as I needed them and just applying whatever magic needed to be applied with whoever I was working with. And that really resonated because there's so many modalities that I do use and things that I'm certified in that along the way, it's kind of all become almost a hybrid way to heal.
So let's talk about that for a second, Faye. Let's talk about your vision of who you are and that hybrid thing. What is all the aspects or facets within that model of being a hybrid?
Okay, so I guess we should go back to where it started. As a kid, I used to suffer from debilitating migraines, like super intense, and they wouldn't subside until I physically vomited for my body to release the stress and the pressure from the headaches. My mother was ahead of her time. She used to get this magazine called Prevention. It was about holistic healing. And one month there was an article about foot reflexology and hand reflexology. And she taught herself reflexology so she could help me with my headaches. Fast forward to me dissolving my marriage and becoming single mother, working at a retail cell phone establishment in a kiosk in the middle of one of the malls. I felt like I wasn't being fulfilled and I wasn't serving my purpose. And I was standing there and I'm going, I need something that's going to fill me, that's going to feed my soul in a way that I can give back and help people to help themselves. And I started researching massage schools because also as a kid, we would have massage contests. I was the one who always won. And that was without any training. So, okay, go to massage school. You go to massage school and it's never just about massage. You think you're going to help other people. Well, flashing neon lights, anybody who goes into the healing arts ultimately begins to find out that the healing is really for them. And in their healing, they in turn are then able to support other people in their healing. So it was massage, aromatherapy, Reiki, EFT, meditation. Oh my God, there's so many things. Even on my website now, I have not even everything that I've been trained in is listed there because it would be too much information. So as you become proficient in one area, and then you learn more healing arts, you start to combine them, because as you really learn it and know it and embody it and see how this helps and that helps and other things can be added. And as you're calibrating somebody when you're working with them, you can tell immediately what's having an effect and what isn't. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes, sure. Faye, but what is it that you don't do? It sounds like you got your hands in everything.
I don't do marketing really well.
So when did you have that aha moment that, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a great healer?
Ooh, that actually took a long time. It's like I knew that the work that I was doing with people as I was working with them was having fabulous results. But there was a part of me that was still afraid to a degree to admit that I was having that effect, that I had that capacity. Kind of like an imposter syndrome, right? I'm sure you guys
Wow.
have never experienced that, right? It kind of sneaks up on all of us.
It
So
does.
being able to do my own self-work, my own inner work, and get past the blocks that were there and the limiting beliefs. And that's not to say that I have reached perfection, because each day will bring a new challenge or a new hill to climb. And then we get to figure out a way up that hill, right?
Nice. So how about this, Faye, then? How about a time when you did something? Tell us what you did and how you felt, and it was like, wow, I really made a shift in this person's life. Something you've been really proud of, where you've made just a major shift.
Okay, so that probably began when I started my life coach training with Robbins Madonna's Institute and became certified through them. And then I saw how I could integrate my EFT certification into the life coaching and have people release trauma in very short amount of time. And then let's fast forward to joining the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. And as soon as I started studying the coursework, it all clicked. It was like, boom, that was the final piece to tie it all together. The hypnosis comes so easily to me because I've been leading meditation and how to meditate and how to breathe for years, along with teaching yoga. So there was the mind-body aspect. And now combine it with the coaching and the EFT, which is the energy work that people can learn to do really in less than 5 minutes. And then with the hypnosis, so people can access things that have been stored in their body without actually diving into any of the trauma and be able to release it. Sometimes in as little as 5 minutes. That to me was absolutely fabulous. Amazing. As a matter of fact, before I hopped on here, I just was in a session with somebody and they presented with what they thought was something physical going on. It ended up being, as we were working through it, ended up being something that was emotional that they had been holding on to from childhood. Now, we never discussed it. We never went into it. We were working very visually in their mind as to what they were feeling, since a sensation in their body, where it was located, a color, what it looked like, the size, right? So nothing specific trauma-wise, but yet we still were able to clear the issue in, I think it was maybe a half an hour.
Wow.
Now tell me that's not life-changing for somebody to be able to release something that they weren't even aware of that was now manifesting physically, and then to feel lighter and free in about a half an hour.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
So I noticed, Faye, that you have an angel as a background on your screen. So what's your connection with the angels here that you want to share with us?
Well, we all have a connection to the divine. Doesn't matter what you call it, whether it's God, cosmos, universe, angels, right? And one thing, we've all been, I'll say, programmed to not listen to our own inner guidance, our own internal GPS system. So, for example, when you got to go someplace new, now we have the GPS, right? So you plug in the address into the GPS, turn it on, and you listen and you let the GPS tell you where to go. But as you're driving, you realize you recognize the neighborhood and the GPS is telling you to make a right turn. But something inside your head is saying, no, you need to make a left. But you said, the GPS knows what it's doing, and you turned right. And after you turned right, you're like, crap, I should have listened and turned left. It's that inner guidance, which is a part of our higher self that is not in physical. That's our angel. That's our own internal angel. Some people connect with Archangel Michael, Uriel, Gabrielle. There's a whole slew of angels that you can connect to if that resonates with you. But we all have our own personal inner guidance, which is our own personal angel. And that's never going to steer us wrong if we can learn to listen to that guidance. So we essentially need to reprogram ourselves. So when the GPS says to turn right and we know we need to turn left, we actually turn left and say, to heck with the GPS.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, sometimes that inner voice in me is a bit of a smartass and it'll get me in trouble. So my question is how do you discern which voice you're listening to when you're listening to that internal voice?
Great question. And the discernment is where you need to practice. So in those little instances when the smartass isn't talking, okay, you acknowledge, like, okay, I turned right, or I listened to my inner guidance and it worked out well. Each time something like that happens, you acknowledge it. You say, yes, this was what was, this is what I did, this is how it worked out. You rebuild your trust in your own inner voice. The other thing is true guidance will come from a very soft sounding voice, almost a whisper. And it won't necessarily be right here at the forefront. It'll be somewhere in the middle of your head. And it'll be so quiet and so soft, you'll almost miss it. So it's allowing yourself to retune into that voice so you can learn to begin to trust it again.
Now, is it always a voice or can it be a feeling? I've heard people talking about having a feeling within their gut and things like this.
Yes, it can be a feeling. And your gut is actually where all your guidance can show up the most noticeably, right? If something feels really off to you, where do you notice it, Jason?
Well, sometimes I think I just need a nice steak for my gut.
Okay, but if you're looking for something that's showing up emotionally,
Yes.
right? What does it feel like?
Well, I think it would depend on what the feeling is and where the emotion's coming from.
Okay, how about you, Scott? Did you ever notice your body talking to you when something didn't feel right?
I notice tension when I don't feel right. So that
Tension.
tension, I've learned to read that tension and know and find out what it's trying to tell me
And where do you normally notice that tension?
in my back and shoulders.
Back and shoulders. Okay. So there's your start to your reintegrating and recalibrating to that internal guidance. So you know when something is off, you're getting that tension in your shoulders, right? And something is going to remind you, oh, wait, maybe I better check into this a little bit more. Or maybe I better not move forward with this. Like I said, it's learning to trust the signals that your body gives you. Our bodies are constantly talking to us, and they're always trying to communicate with us. Most of the time, it's in sensation or an emotion. or something like a thought that shows up out of the blue, and you're like, where did that come from? Or how about this? Have you ever had a dream that was so vivid and so beyond anything that you thought you could create? You're like, what the heck? And then when you sat and thought about it, it's like, oh, that's what it means. That's guidance. If we don't hear it when we're conscious, oftentimes we'll get insight through our dreams.
So Faye, you were talking about those migraines in the beginning. So you got rid of those migraines, correct? How did that,
Absolutely.
what did you do to get rid of them, and how did that happen? How did that process of healing begin?
After I started to study the EFT, like I never bring anything to the people that I work with that I haven't had complete results with. Like I won't half-ass anything. If I don't have good results with something, I won't bring it forward. I won't give it to somebody to even investigate. Because I feel like if I've had results, I can confidently refer it. Right?
So you're saying the EFT is what helped cure the head?
The EFT is absolutely what cured my headaches. Because as I was playing around with the EFT one night, I was tapping around the sensation of the headaches and when I got the headaches. And it came to my realization after doing just a couple of rounds of tapping that the headaches always showed up. When the headaches showed up is when I received positive attention from my mother and my ex. And then I was like, well, I don't need to be sick to get positive attention. So I tapped that in as well. Done. 3/4 of the headaches were immediately dissolved, never to return. Some shifts in my hydration. I increased hydration, changed my diet. I haven't taken a Tylenol or an Advil in over 30 years. Now,
Awesome.
that was before the EFT. I just knew that that was no good because it was the Tylenol and the Advil do not such nice things to your body. As a matter of fact, they do something called a what is it? A boomerang effect, where if you take it frequently enough, it actually creates a symptom you're trying to relieve. But with the EFT, I was able to release it completely. Now, if I start to get anything that even resembles a headache, I know it's because I'm dehydrated.
Nice. So your headache's coming from dehydration and not from the X, huh?
Yeah, well, that's another subject for off video. No, but the dehydration, majority of America is dehydrated and they don't even realize it. And what happens when the body is dehydrated, major organs in the body start to pull liquid, fluid from the major organs. And when that happens on a regular basis, that can then start to create real physical problems.
So for our viewers out there, how can you tell if you're dehydrated?
Half the time people can't. If you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So best advice is to stay hydrated on a regular basis. I mean, I'm always walking, not going to be able to see it with the screensaver. I'm always walking around with a water bottle. I never leave the house without one.
Well, how many bottles of water do you drink a day?
Ooh, depends on the heat, the outside temperature. I consciously go through a liter during the early part of the day and then whatever I need to supplement through the rest of the day. You want to also make sure that you don't overhydrate because your kidneys can only handle so much fluid going through your body at one time before they become overloaded, and you don't want to tax your kidneys out.
Well, I get that because my kidneys get overloaded all the time. I guess it has to do with my age. Anyway, so hey, Faye, we hear you're a minister. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, oh my goodness, since I approach the healing practice as a healing ministry, it just seemed to make sense to become a minister, because a lot of times people have questions about spirituality and their connection to the divine. So it's a way to open up that conversation. And for people who have been real churchgoers, it gives them a level of comfort to speak to somebody who's not of the church, and allows them the space to ask questions that they may not have been able to ask in the church, because some churches are very dogmatic in their beliefs and their opinions. And that can be any organized religious institution. So having that safe space of non-denomination makes it easy. And it also gave me the opportunity to perform a couple of weddings.
Nice.
So, Faye, how is it that you get into the crystal healing bowls and sound? Tell me how that works in your practice.
Okay, cool. So I was introduced to the crystal bowls by a friend who said, "Oh, there's this yoga studio and she plays these bowls and you lie down and it's meditation, but it's really like a nap. Let's go." I was like, "Okay, let's go." My first experience, I was picking up on the energy of somebody behind me. And even with all my knowledge and my information, I'm lying there going, is it over yet? Is it over yet? Is it over yet? Because all I could feel was that person's energy and behind me. I didn't even think to move, which would have helped. But you think of these things too little, too late. And then after that, I went to another couple of events where the bowls were being played, and it was like that little voice kept calling me and saying, get bowls, get bowls, get bowls. So I started researching. And at the time, everybody was doing chakra, which is the energy centers in the body, crystal bowls. And I'm like, no, there's a bigger purpose here. So my bowls were chosen for ascension, to help bring humanity from the level that they're at and elevate their frequency and their vibration. In all of the years that I've been doing the crystal bowls and learning more about sound healing and vibration and frequency, there are specific notes, and I don't have the information in my head in the moment, but there are certain frequencies that can break up blockages in the body. Some things very specific. There's a frequency for cancer. And again, I don't remember what that is at the moment. But with sound, you can change so much in your body. I've had people who've had arthritis come to a bowl session and have fluidity and movement for about a week after the bowl session. I had somebody who had a hearing issue, and the bowls helped her be able to hear better. Oftentimes when we do an event, we'll have members of the family who have transitioned come and tap somebody on the shoulder just to say, hi, I'm here, everything's okay. Or shamans or healers will show up. One recent event, I literally saw a portal open up in the back of the room. And the second I put full attention on it, poof, it was gone. So I've learned to look at things through peripheral vision to keep them in sight if I want to try and keep them around. So it's just the healing, the sound, the vibration, the frequency, which will elevate anybody who's in proximity to what's being played.
Yeah,
It does.
it's interesting how those bowls called out to you, and the only bowl that calls out to me most of the time is an ice cream bowl from the fridge. But anyway,
Well, that's a frequency also.
I wanted to say, since you're into the healing of the bowls and that, have you ever thought about the sound baths with the other things that go on with the beads and stuff like that as well, adding to the bowls?
Well, I basically do a sound bath at this point. I've got the crystal bowls. I have something called a hang drum, which is almost like an instrument from another world. The first time I heard a hang drum, I was like, I need that. That is absolutely hypnotizing, magnetic, and you just float off someplace else with that. I've got a drone contrabass Native American flute, which maybe that's why the shamans show up and Native American healers, they resonate with that frequency. A crystal pyramid, which everybody loves because after the intensity of the crystal bowls, the pyramid is much gentler. And it because of the sacred geometry of the shape of the pyramid, it can intensify any healing that's occurring or has occurred. And then the last thing, sometimes I bring my rain stick, and then we have my happy UFO drum, which is a unique frequency object. It has 11 different scales in the drum. And people have said it sounds like angels, a choir, bells. It's amazing. And the best part about all of that is sound baths are never the same twice. Each experience is always different.
So now that you're working with sound baths, have you thought possibly that maybe you can coordinate when you're working with that auditory to possibly work with some visual or some feeling level too by adding hypnosis on top of the sound bath?
If somebody wants to have the sound along with the hypnosis, absolutely. What I frequently do, I have something called a vibroacoustic sound table and an amethyst biomat. And those two mats are placed on a massage table and they can be used simultaneously. So during a hypnosis session, I can have both of those mats on and the person lying on them, and we conduct their hypnosis session. So now they're getting the vibration from the sound table. They're getting the heat and the warmth from the amethyst biomat. So their muscles are opening and relaxing. Any pain, any physical pain that they may be experiencing is being drawn out of the soft tissue of the body. And they're more open to everything. I've done a number of sessions already on both of those mats, and they've been extremely productive.
That sounds like some high-tech stuff. I'm wondering if there's a synthesizer attached to it or something. I'm telling you, that sounds pretty
I'll tell you what, the transducer in the sound table, when it's at full intensity, it's cool.
nice.
Nice.
Right on. Well, Faye, for our viewers out there, we want to know, how can we get a hold of you and how can we touch you? And if, get in touch with you in case, they want to reach and get some of your services.
Excellent. Well, there's always my website, kneadedescape.com, and that's kneading like bread dough, because right when I first got into the healing, it was for massage. So that kind of was a nice play on words.
Nice.
So KNEADEDESCAPE.com. And I'm also on Instagram and at Faye Nulman and on Facebook.
So now, Faye, you got so much stuff that you have to offer, but what's your specialty and what should people come to you first for?
They need to come to me for the hypnosis with the EFT. And then
Awesome.
anything else that needs to be added can be added, because like I said, I work kind of like a hybrid way at this point. So even if they come just for the hypnosis, if they need something else, it can always be added. Because during our time together, when we have our getting to know each other session, we can determine if that's actually the correct course of action for somebody. I don't work cookie cutter, which also kind of makes it a hybrid.
Nice. Well, even though you don't work cookie cutter, it sounds like you got a lot of material there that you could cookie cut with, like your crystals and your sound tools and all this other stuff.
It all builds on each other, right? And as you talk to somebody and you see what they're comfortable with. So you bring forward, you meet them where they are, and you allow them to work on the level that they're ready to work. It's not what I want. Right? It's just like with the hypnosis, you learn to be fluid. So you may think, oh, I'm going to start with this particular process, but you see that the person is not responding. So you have to switch gears right in the middle and transition to something that's going to work better. So it's the same thing. But I'm really having the most fun with the hypnosis right now.
Well, it sounds like you've been on one hell of a journey. So the big question is, what next?
We shall see what the universe has in store.
What does Faye have in store?
Faye is open to something new and exciting. I submitted a while ago for a potential humanitarian project. So I'm waiting to see when that unfolds. And when that unfolds, that's going to be the next level of this whole healing journey. I don't want to disclose the details just yet, because I feel like I need to know that the project's been approved. But once it's approved, oh, baby.
Okay, we got a no baby moment coming up. Scott, you want to throw out here?
You've got so many modalities and you can help so many people in so many different ways. Thank you for sharing with us today.
It has been a pleasure, and it's always a great opportunity to be able to speak to people who are at least open to hearing about things where they can take their own healing into their own hands and not rely on over-the-counter anything. Because the information's been hidden from us about how powerful we really are and what we're truly capable of doing for ourselves. So I kind of look at the work that I'm doing as a way to remind people how powerful they are.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, we appreciate your work and appreciate your service. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And for our viewers out there, we certainly appreciate you too. And we're glad that you're here. And we hope that you come back and see us next week. If you liked us, give it a thumbs up. If you thought we were assholes, give us the thumbs down. But most of all, we ask that you comment, you follow us, and you subscribe to our channel. We'd really love to see you back. And thanks for taking a trip with us today. Faye, thanks for allowing us to ride down your magical psyche highway today. And I guess we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for coming.
What a great trip it was.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.